maybe share this with other people. They may have some interest in what we're talking about. So, hi guys, how are you? Are you excited about South by Southwest? Yes. How many of you have been to Austin before? None of you. Okay, so you'll be first time coming to Austin. It's a very cool city, and I think you'll have a really good time. South by Southwest. I don't know how much you've been looking into it or prepping for it. I spend a lot of time with my students prepping in advance, and I'll talk a little bit about that project. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. And, it can be a little overwhelming because it has grown. I mean, it was overwhelming when I first went in 2005 to Interactive. I've been going to music for many, many years. But it's gigantic. You can ask Professor Ibold. It's, huge and overwhelming, and there's way more than one person can ever take in. But it's a great opportunity to meet people, connect with people, learn about new things. I am a big proponent of this event because I've just found it extremely useful for me as someone who teaches these topics to be able to stay on the cutting edge, to be able to learn the things that I'm going to teach over the next year. I need to know what the buzzwords are. I need to know what the new technologies that are coming out. I need maybe some resources to be able to start learning them. It also gets you really psyched about this stuff. You're around 20,000 other people who care about media, technology, platforms, mobile apps, whatever you're interested in. And being in a communication department, either journalism or some area of mass comm, this has become increasingly more of what it is that we do. I would say 10 years ago, people in your department would have been like, well, that's South by Southwest, that's a tech conference. Why should anybody go to that? It's gadgety. But it's not. It's very much a media conference and really focuses on the future of media, the way that people are going to connect. It's going to affect traditional media organizations, and it's affecting the way we have interpersonal communications and any hybrid that kind of, brings both of those things together. As you can see, I'm very excited about it. It's better than Christmas or my birthday. I love South by Southwest. I love music as well. I love live music, so I'm very lucky to live in Austin. We have great music year round, but South by Southwest is just 2,000 bands in 5 days. That's, incredibly amazing in terms of the amount of talent that we have, and then all the different kinds of bands, anything from the newest bands that are out, unsigned bands that you've never even heard of, to people like Bruce Springsteen. And I just saw today that, not only is he going to be a keynote, but they're announcing some intimate venue that a few people are going to get to see him perform during South by Southwest. I've seen legends. A couple years ago, I remember I went to see, who was it? It was like Cheap Trick. And then early in the afternoon, I saw Courtney Love. And then later that night, I went to see Smokey Robinson. All in one day that you could see legend after legend after legend. As well as, last year I saw Fitz and the Tantrums at the convention center in the middle of the afternoon, because they have bands in the middle of the afternoon there. And, that was just a great way to see a really up and coming band that I hadn't seen before. And I've seen them a couple times since then. So the music is great. If you have time to catch some films, that's pretty awesome too. I usually don't have time for that, but I'm always sad when I don't, because seeing a premiere of a film at South by Southwest is great. Really great independent films, documentaries. But yeah, it's really everything I love, and I have such a good time at it every year. And I've been very lucky for the past 5 years to be able to bring a group of students, my graduate students. This will be the 5th year, and we cover it on our blog, SXTXstate.com. So I don't know if you guys have looked at it yet, but you should, because we've been doing preliminary coverage, previews, really just trying to get the students prepared for what they're about to see. So that's kind of my synopsis. There is a post on sxtxday.com of my recommendations for some panels, and the title of it is At First Glance. So if you just search for that, or I can send Professor Ibold a link to that, it might help you. But there's like 400 panels you could go to, and you can pick the things that you want to see. But I'm ready to answer any of your questions. So what kinds of things do you want to know about Austin or South by Southwest? Anyone?
What are good ways to go about like actually meeting people and interacting with people?
So people are very friendly at South by Southwest. That's a very good question. And just talking to people that are sitting next to you while you're waiting for a panel to start, because there are people from all over the world and they're really there to meet people. You shouldn't feel intimidated by anyone that you're going to meet at South by Southwest. You should maybe even push yourself a little out of your comfort zone. If you do, especially as a college student, if your goal is to interview somebody, you have a great excuse to go up and ask them a few questions, get them on camera. Then suddenly they're a contact of yours. Most of the people at South by Southwest that are on panels are accessible. They'll be standing up there after their panel is over. Unless they're like some giant rock star that gets, hustled out a back door or something, there's not that many of them, but maybe some of the keynotes might be that way where you wouldn't have access. But for the majority of people, you might just see people that you've learned about just walking around in the hallway. So, the best thing to do would be able to plan who you might want to meet. If there is a way to contact them in advance, maybe tweet them and say, I'd love to have a few minutes to talk with you. And then that way you'd have sort of the intro. You'd say, I contacted you ahead of time. Would you be interested in talking to me? But in general, like meeting people is not going to be a problem. You're going to meet more people than you've ever met before while you're there. So, just be prepared with what you want to ask them. And I think anyone you meet is going to be very interested in what you're doing. I came down from Indiana as a part of this class. We've been studying this stuff all semester. So people are going to be really interested in you. It should be pretty simple and comfortable.
Yes. Can't see my hand. Oops. How ambitious do you think we should be in terms of how tightly we pack our schedules? Like, if there's a panel that's like a half hour from the start of another panel, should we assume don't schedule both because you're going to be lingering around the other talking to people? Or
well, plan and then be ready for the plan to fail. It's like have plan A, plan B, and plan C, but just know that things may change and don't be disappointed if you miss something that you really wanted to see just because there's so much. Some of the things are in different buildings. They have more campuses than ever this year, and they're supposed to have a different shuttle system that may improve that. We'll see. It was terrible last year. You're going to miss things. You're going to be running late. You're going to be talking to people. It's okay in most sessions to walk in while it's going on, too. People expect that. People, leave. They know that there's a lot going on, so you won't be offending anyone if you walk in late. Obviously, don't make a lot of noise, but, walk in late, sit at the back, or hang out, or, kind of see what the situation is. But just be prepared to have a lot of scheduling changes, but definitely be prepared. Don't think, well, I'll just play it by ear when I get there. You definitely want to, go through your schedule and at least identify the ones you really want to go to and prioritize those.
Cindy, could you talk a little bit about Monday night and what might be in store for us?
Well, okay, so we have had this for, this will be the third year. The first year I just was like, oh, let's just get a few people over to my house, and I grilled fajitas, which was fine, except I really don't need to be having a party at my house in the middle of South by Southwest, so that ended up being a little bit too much. But we were lucky that the Texas Tribune last year offered their conference room, and it's much more convenient. You guys don't have to get on a bus and come out to my house in Hyde Park. You can just walk to the Texas Tribune, which is at 9th and Congress downtown. They're a great organization. They're doing some great things if you haven't had a chance to look at them. And just about everyone I invited last year showed up. All the different media people that I've either met or had some sort of a contact with over the years that was going to be in town. The whole goal was so that you guys and my students can meet them and, interact with them more informally, have some tacos, and if you're of legal drinking age, a beer, and just hang out with people from the New York Times, Washington Post, CNN, NPR. I just got an RSVP last night from someone who I think is a interesting media pioneer, and I don't know if you guys have studied him, but Bob Metcalf is the inventor of Ethernet, and he was one of the early internet pioneers. He teaches at UT now, and I've gotten to know him, and he just RSVP'd for our taco party last night, so you might get to meet him, and that's pretty exciting. He spoke at our Mass Comm Week in last October, and I've gotten to know him in those situations. So you never know who's going to show up. The founders of Storify have replied that they were coming. People from Chicago Tribune that I know of. So it's just a great networking opportunity and some super cool people. I mean, you were at it last year, Hans, and it was great, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, and a great opportunity to meet the Tribune staff too, which I think are doing really amazing work. And then there were also some people from NPR who were doing some intern hunting, I think, at the event.
Yeah, always great when they're specifically looking for interns and you can make that connection right there. Well, Evan Smith, the CEO and publisher of the Texas Tribune, kind of kicked it off and welcomed everyone. And so that was really great. Evan has been more than gracious with us. So that's Monday night. But there are many events going on, lots of other little parties that you've probably seen or heard about. The Online News Association and Hacks Hackers is having a get-together. I don't know if you saw the RSVP for that, Hans, but I'll make sure you have the link for that. So that might be something you want to go to. That's on Saturday, I believe. And then one of the events that I'm having is this Teaching Technology Meetup. They started having meetups last year. Obviously, you have a lot of other stuff going on, but if you happen to want to travel up to the AT&T Center, which is the furthest campus from the convention center, but we're having this Teaching Technology Meetup up there. I'm hoping that a lot of the educators will show up for that, and it's just not even a presentation or a panel. It's just a place for people to meet up and hang out that are around a topic. I'm trying to think of what else. There's seems like there's something every day. The interactive awards on Tuesday night is actually kind of cool to go to. If you have a chance to go to that, it's like a Grammys or some kind of an award show, but they give the awards out. And that comedy team, Jenny and Gabe, who does that Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. Do you guys know that animation? Okay, yeah. So they're the hosts of it. They're the MCs. So they always have really fun MCs, and it's a good relaxing time. And that's at the very end on Tuesday night. And then music starts on Tuesday this year. I mean, it's like a half night. Definitely not a lot, but it's like what Wednesday used to be. Was a partial night of music. Now it's all the way into Tuesday. So there's music starting on Tuesday as well. What kind of bands are you guys interested in seeing while you're there?
Well, and keep in mind, Cindy, that we are headed out of Austin, most of us, on Wednesday morning. So the bands that we're in, we'll see if we'll be part of Interactive and then just that first night.
So in the past, you had stuck around a little longer.
First trip we did. Second trip we left on Wednesday also.
Okay. All right. Well, Tuesday, then you've got that Tuesday night music stuff that if you want to see some stuff. And I think that there are some parties going on during the interactive more so that have music as well.
I sent your bio around, but I just wanted to remind everyone that Cindy is sort of a independent music journalist who covers the music scene in Austin like a true guerrilla sort of independent music journalist, interviewing and interacting with the musicians and doing multimedia sort of reporting on music. So you've got your finger on the pulse. Anything that we'll have access to or should keep our eyes?
I'll try to send around any of the things that are happening during the interactive that are like some of the parties, but they are definitely having some music parties during interactive that look pretty cool. But yeah, I do my blog onthatnote.com. It's kind of what got me started being interested in this. Before it was a blog, it was just a website in the mid-90s before there were blogs. And I just started tinkering around with it, and it put me on this path for a completely new career. It's what interested me in getting a PhD and started teaching online media. So the things that you're doing now, you have no idea where they're going to take you. When you start pursuing a passionate interest that you have and, publishing things online and getting attention for it, you really have no idea where it can take you. And as Hans said, I publish, I write on a blog. I sometimes write for Texas Music Magazine. And about 2 years ago, I started thinking, well, I have these video cameras. I could have a talk show in my house if I wanted to and interview musicians that way. And that was really fun. I have not had much time to do it lately, but I did 20 of them. And they would bring their guitars and do a little acoustic performance for me. And it was the best thing ever. I got little solo performances from some of my favorite musicians. So it really just shows that there's nothing to stop you. You've got the platforms. Most of you have the technology. Use your cell phone that shoots video. There's nothing to really hold you back. The tools are easy to access and they're fairly good quality. And so you can use a lot of those kinds of things in your coverage while you are at South by Southwest if you're doing that kind of thing online, if you're going to publish multimedia or something.
Speaking of that, Cindy, last year Brad King Skyped in and told us that this year would be the year of transmedia storytelling at South by. Do you have a sense of what sort of the buzz is around? Is transmedia storytelling really a big thing this year, or is it around something else?
I'm going to be honest with you. Transmedia storytelling seems to be something that people have said for a very long time. I don't know how that's different than what we used to call convergence. You know, I mean, so to me, it just sounds like it's a buzzword, but I think the storytelling part of it is always going to be very important. I mean, it's what we do. It's how we communicate. Clearly, the journalism track has grown in prominence at South by Southwest over the years, but it's not just journalism. I mean, it can be art. It can be any type of creative work that people are putting together online. It could have to do with music. I mean, I think South by Southwest is probably the quintessential transmedia environment to be in. So I think what we're probably going to see is, you know, I'm not really sure what the trends are going to be yet. I think that we'll be looking at a lot of location-based like platforms engaging location-based services as opposed to unique standalone platforms. Foursquare will be there, and people will be talking about that and Path. But I think, you know, integrating those kinds of services into existing platforms is going to be something that a lot of people are talking about. One of the things I'm really excited about, and you guys might not be able to go to this one, is on Wednesday at the music panels, because the music panels start on Wednesday. Sean Parker and Sean Fanning are going to be doing an interview together. Do you guys know who they are?
Absolutely.
Sean Parker, Justin Timberlake in The Social Network. You guys know who that is, right? Okay, and then Sean Fanning, they started Napster, like you said in the back there. They're going to be at the music, so that I'm pretty excited about that. So I think there were a lot of panels on the interactive that dealt with music platforms and services, so I think those kinds of transmedia experiences are going to be explored on a greater level. What are you guys excited about seeing or hearing from? Maybe you're not, maybe you haven't gone through the schedule too much yet? No? There was a question?
I was just going to ask, when you plan your interactive schedule, is there anything you specifically look for in the descriptions, or is it just purely whatever you're personally interested in?
It's both. Like I have friends that I, might want to go to their panels and support them. So I kind of go through and see who all my friends are and what they're talking about. I look for the kind of rock star people. And if you look at that at first glance, I have a whole list of people that are like, wow, Ray Kurzweil is going to be there. Take a look at the keynotes and see who you're most interested in keynotes. And then after that, it is about either organizations that I'm really interested in, like, Facebook or someone from Foursquare, I want to check that out. Or topics. And the topics that are of interest to me are like the tech skills. I want to learn HTML5 or CSS3 or people talking about jQuery or something like that. So I always try to push myself a little out of my own comfort zone too, to try to go to some maybe higher end technology skills panels. And you should do that as well. Don't feel intimidated. Don't feel weird if you don't even understand a thing that people are saying. Just kind of go, soak it in, and it may make sense later. You never know. But so I try to, go on a combination of different types of panels where I'm pushing it, something I have no clue what it is, and I should probably know about it, and then other things that are, things that I would probably go to every year. So I would just try to get as broad of a range of topics that you're interested in.
How far in advance would you show up at a panel if you're going to see a panel?
You don't usually have to show up too far in advance, but some of them will get full. So if it's something like you're going to die if you don't get in there, I would probably get there 20 minutes ahead of time at least. The keynotes are typically in big rooms, but they'll have overflow for some of them that have simulcasts, and all the campuses will have simulcasts of the keynotes. So if you happen to be in another building and the keynote's about to start, you can watch it on the screen. But it's nice to be in the room, with the keynotes, to be able to see the people in person if it's somebody you really, really want to see. In some cases, if it's somebody really popular, you might have to wait in line before they let people start going into the room. So like I said, if it's somebody you're dying to see, get there, 20, 25 minutes ahead of time. If you could take it or leave it and a room is full, then go to plan B. Go to your next one. What else? Any questions about Austin, or where are you guys staying?
We're staying north of UT, right along the 35 at a Holiday Inn. It's right off the freeway there.
I know the hotels were crazy this year.
It was really hard for us to get one close to town.
Like 6 months ago, everything was booked. Yeah.
Yeah, and we can't even book at that point. We have to wait a while to get confirmations and other approvals. So we're sort of left with that one. But there's the shuttle service, and that reminds me of a question for you, Cindy. Do you have any advice on whether or not to bring a laptop, let's say, from the hotel to the convention center and carry it around, or do you think it's better to just sort of process? And then also, something that I'm curious about for myself, I got in the habit last year of just tweeting constantly and aggressively, and this year I'm thinking about not doing that, just kind of sort of listening and not bringing a screen with me into the panels. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, it depends on what your goals are. I mean, my group is going with the intent of covering it live. So they have to do work, and if they want to be able to publish things real time, they have to have their laptop with them. But if you don't have to have your laptop, if that's not a requirement, then coming with like an iPad or a tablet or even just your phone, taking some notes that way. The tweeting is really up to you. I mean, if you have people that are following you that really want to know what's going on at South by Southwest, or if you want to be part of the discussion, I recommend that you tweet, but you don't have to tweet like 100 times a panel, so find that sweet spot. But I agree that sometimes some of that distracts you from paying attention. So you just have to decide, like my students, they're going to be using Storify a lot, and they're going to be covering the panels, interviewing people. I mean, they need to have like a mobile office with them, as much as, it's a pain to carry a laptop around. If you have something like a MacBook Air, that might be the best. So, well, I have like 2 minutes before I have to go to class. So yeah, one more question?
This is just like a really logistical question. How, in your experience, is the 3G/the Wi-Fi in these places? Is it so clogged with other people trying to use Twitter that nothing can get through, or do they amp it up, or what?
They amp it up. It's been pretty good. I mean, would you say so? I mean, I go to other festivals and it's terrible. The minute you arrive, you can't even get a text message out. But South by Southwest realizes who they have there, and so it's usually pretty good. You'll have access to, well, I don't know. You're getting badges, right? So actually, the wireless is free. Yeah, there's just wireless at all the campuses that'll be free for South by Southwest, and they've got it all pumped up. So you shouldn't have to rely on the 3G unless you're away from one of the campuses. So it should be fine when you're at their locations with their Wi-Fi. The rest of the city, if you're not around Wi-Fi, you're going to be like at the mercy. Hopefully AT&T will do some things to boost their 3G service, and maybe the rest of them will do it as well. So, but it's usually okay. Like, people start complaining like crazy if they don't. So.
Okay, Cindy,
right?
I know you've got to go. Thank you so much.
Yes. Well, I look forward to seeing all of you in Austin in a couple weeks, seeing you at the taco party. Hopefully, if you see me or, you realize that I'm at the same place, come up and say hi. Let me know that you're with the Indiana group. And I hope you guys have a safe trip. And good luck preparing for the event.
All right. Thanks a lot, Cindy.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.